enclose those without affecting the flow, and a fence wouldn't do it. That would be the way to go, because you're already reducing a safe level of noise to a more safe level of noise.
All right, you've heard a number of options presented by the city administrator. I would call for a motion on an option.
Lynn had a question.
Oh, Lynn, or Councilman Morton?
Did we vote on these plans for the council?
Did we approve the plans?
Yeah.
I was in it, though. I wasn't, there was the former mayor was in the meeting when they did the original pre-work on the plans. I don't know at what point the plans were approved, but I would have to ask the city administrator that question.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was trying to get some additional information, but it wasn't something. I was trying to get another option, but it won't work.
All right, that won't work, Tom.
Well, the statement I had, and it's really, I don't know whether they're kind of classified as, but the reasonable thing would have been that this question came up, there were optional plans, and so why wasn't that option discussed when it came to building or approving the plan?
I haven't got an answer to that.
And I don't have an answer for that either. I wasn't involved in that.
Well, it's history now, but I mean,
That's
sometimes
correct.
we end up in these situations.
That's correct.
It could have been eliminated to start with.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. I agree, and I agree that I agree. Okay, I'm going to take Don's question, and then we need to move on with this. Don?
It's not a question. I was actually going to answer his question. Is that it was brought up in a council meeting a few months ago that the whole library process of being built never went to the planning commission and therefore never went to the council for approval. So I don't think you guys have heard of any of it yet.
There was something that didn't go to the planning commission. We're fully aware of that, and so that may have been maybe where the problem fell down right there.
That's correct, because that was the issue at the time, was that it was pushed through as a minor site plan versus a major, and because it didn't go through as a major site plan, that's why you all didn't see it.
I know HVAC was in the site plan.
Yeah.
All right. Have you got enough information to act on this, council?
Well, yeah, we do.
Could the city administrator reiterate the 4 options?
Okay. First option, do nothing. Second option would be working towards what Tom was talking about, a wall and some type of soundproofing. And you know that might save $2,000 to $3,500. Sound pretty close.
I would say that would be
okay. So let's say $2,500 to $3,500 for option 2. Option 3 would put it in the southeast corner, which would be approximately $13,000. And option 4 would be $17,400, which would put it in the southwest corner on this side of the deck.
Well, I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Council Fortune.
For Tom. Do you think that wall is going to restrict the flow of that to the point that we're
I don't think so.
less life on the units?
For your information, I tried to find out the other day with Louie and I tried to find the information in the heating and air conditioning, the HVAC, and there was nothing in that book indicating how many cubic feet of air per minute that would go through there. But with both ends open, I see no problem, because you're talking about, what, 4.5 feet?
It's 5 feet from.
You mean the height of the wall?
No, end to end, running
Oh, this one.
north and south on that. Those fans in there, they don't care where they get the air from. So as long as you get the required airflow that's required by those units, you shouldn't have any problem with it.
George? George?
Here.
I have run into this very situation, not necessarily for the noise, but for aesthetics purposes before, and I think we need to get the okay from whoever is installing and warranting that system to say that a petition is okay. Because if you have any problems a year from now with the system, the guy comes out from whatever HVAC company, he's going to go say, well, what's this doing here? And according to the manual, it says this. As much as I would like to see the cheaper way go, I think you need to get the okay from not just the engineer, but or through the engineer, but back to the heating and air conditioning guys. Because otherwise, you're putting the warranty of that situation on us, as opposed to putting it back on manufacturers.
Now, that's a good point.
Can I ask you a question? Would that also include moving it? If we move that unit, is that going to affect the warranty?
It could.
Well, that'll be moved by that company. It'll be moved by that company, and therefore they're on the hook to warrant it. But if we take upon the responsibility to create a barrier or something like that, then the whole system falls on us.
If you had to have a specified clearance according to the manufacturer, the wall is within, or too close, it wasn't warranty, and that's a good point. That's a good point.
All right, we do need to move. Hold on, I'll give you one more shot at it.
I just have a question with the barrier method.
Pardon me?
If you're going to put up a barrier,
Yes.
where do you propose to put that barrier? Because the unit sits at 4.5 feet of the 5 feet. So, and a brick wall is going to be more than 6 inches, and then that would have to be then right up against those units. Is that how you see it?
It more than likely would be right up against your property line, more than against the unit.
But I mean, how could that be? It sounds like it would be, you'd be on my property in order to build
It
that.
sounds like we need to do some further investigation, because we're getting a lot of questions that don't have any answers in this room.
Well, we're not gonna spoil, and we can't unring the bell, so it's up to the council what you wanna do with this.
I think we need to have the rest of our questions answered first.
Specifically.
Yeah, we had good questions, George had good questions, we need those answers.
Yeah.
And we can get those answers.
And I'd like to be included in that.
So check
All right,
on
so we will
clearance.
postpone this till the next meeting then. Is that all right?
Yep.
Postpone till the next meeting.
Okay. So I'm gonna get into the questions. Check on clearances, correct, for the wall.
Check on manufacturer warranty for moving
That part.
that part to the southwest corner.
Yeah, well, that would be the manufacturer's storage there. The big piece is that it's putting up the wall.
But, oh, can I add a comment? This is just off the side with
Might as well, you've already been adding comments.
You're directing the city administrator.
You know, from a realtor perspective, you being having a multi-unit, if she ever sells that property and she discloses that big fan and you can hear it, that's a negative on her property. Now, as a homeowner, I would be concerned. Should I ever sell that property? So if I was the homeowner, I would probably want it moved and have the manufacturer guarantee that it's going to be right 10, 15 years from now so that everybody is happy. And we're on the up and up, and it's coming out of, you know, your Brent money.
Well, that's
But
nice.
that's me.
It's a comment.
Thank you.
I'd like to see you choose it.
All right.
So,
I'm getting tired of this.
So I think I got it. I think I got the questions. I'll just get some further research on how each of those options would affect the units.
Okay. Let's take on something simple, like a fee waiver request for concerts in the park.
Do we have a concerts in the park record? Okay, all right.
Oh yeah, Maria's here.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. You have a comment, or were you just putting up your hand to say?
No, I just want to make sure somebody was here because I've got some comments with that. Okay, 7.3. As you can see under the issue, at one time, the city was the primary organization that handled this. And they are a 501c3, and they handled it, I believe, last year. And what is your group called? Is it called Concerts in the Parks?
Yes,
Committee or group?
just concerts in the park.
Okay, they are a 501c3 nonprofit that took that function from us. That was something that we did for about 3 or 4 years when we had money to do it, and they picked up the brunt of that project.
They're still getting money from the city though, on the room tax.
What
right?
We did get room tax.
So they do apply for some room tax money. It's
This
about
last summer.
1,500. They usually get around 1,500, which
Actually, last year between just us and Concerts in the Park, I believe it was 2,500 between the two.
okay. So their costs, they burn through that pretty fast. Okay, and so that's one of the reasons that they're asking for the fee waiver. And the only thing that I'm asking additionally, glad Marie's here, is we don't have any kind of agreement or outline on what they're doing on our behalf or otherwise. So basically one of the things that I'm going to be asking is that with the fee waiver is that before they start their next
June.
concert starting in June, that I and their group sit down and we're going to line out some kind of agreement on what you can store, when you can store it, what holes you can punch in the walls, those kind of things, because the city still has to maintain all those structures. So that's the only caveat that I'm adding in regards to that is that, and you'll see that in the motion. But I am in favor and recommending to council that you do give them the fee waiver. One of the things that it does, it helps bring in room stays. So that's one of the goals of the room tax. That's all I have.
What is, will the council?
Just a quick comment. And I know firsthand the city administrator is correct. It does generate overnight room stays as required by the RTMP distribution. They are, I wouldn't say a significant number of room stays, but there are room stays. My concern, and it's not with Concerts in the Park, because that's certainly a good activity for the folks who participate in that. But at some point, we have a city asset, i.e. Greenwaters Park, that we determine that it has a value for a for-profit business and a 20% of that value for a non-profit business that in 4 of 6 events is going to be serving alcohol, which I assume they're not going to be giving away. They're going to be selling alcohol to 200 participants, or the ones that choose to consume alcohol. There's no admission charge. At 200 participants, you could charge people 50 cents a head per day and meet the nonprofit. I mean, obviously it's less expensive than for-profit, and they're not making a profit. They're offsetting costs for bands and so on and so forth,
Correct.
And getting $2,000 to $3,000 worth of room, or about 30% of the room tax money. I think at some point you have to draw the line in the sand, because you're going to reduce yourself to where the only revenue that you're ever going to generate off Greenwaters Park is going to be the for-profit events, of which we have one at the moment. Hopefully others to come, but I guess that's my only concerns with this. I mean, we do fireworks, and that's completely through fundraising or raise grant money for libraries or whatever. It's a generous community, and I think there's other ways than to just donate a city asset every time you turn around.
Well, and Council Barkley, I did speak with the group, and one of the goals is to get solvent enough to where they could at least get some donation towards this, okay? So that is their goal, so that it isn't a full fee waiver in the future, so we have had discussions.
Because if memory serves, we rebated the monies that had been paid for last year's events not that long ago.
Right.
Like $600 worth, thereabouts.
Right, yeah, that's true, we covered them, that's correct.
Yes.
And as I said, though, they have relayed to me that their goal is to get to a point of trying to contribute.
Marie, do you ask for donations right now, people that come into the concerts?
No, yes, I put out a donation jar. I also do a booth at the tree planting festival to help with it. And we'd go around to businesses and ask for donations, and that's how we do it. And we don't make any profit at all. Everything goes out to the bands, the music.
Okay. All right, there are 6. You want to do this in mass? All 6 at a time?
Well, I got a question. You know,
Councilor Fortune?
I think one of the things that bothers me, and I'm not against concerts in the park either, but we've got a nonprofit that comes and says, we're not making a profit, we're not making any money, and yet we see no financials to that effect. You know, where does the money go to that comes in?
No budget.
I keep receipts. I'm the secretary treasurer. I have a receipt for every penny that comes in and goes out.
I don't doubt that at all, Murray, but do you guys produce any types of financials to say that this is what our income is from the concerts and this is what our expenses are? And look, we're not making any money, but so therefore waive our fee?
Well, that's the truth of it. That every penny that comes in goes out to for the music, for the bands.
And the city has additional expenses? I mean, what, the restrooms you use there and...
We pay for that. We pay for the puttings, and we take on that expense.
The porta potties?
Porta potties.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Usually with a usually with a 501, you have, you have a budget, you analyze what your expenditures are, and you zero it out at the end of the year. So you would have an accounting of all of your expenses, because you've got to submit that with the taxes. So that's what you just submit to the council, so that they can be happy.
And that's what I do. I submit all the receipts, and it's in black and white. Everything's proven. Where the money goes and where it comes in.
All due respect, Marie, but the only thing any of the 7 have in black and white here is a permit. There's no budget, there's no expenses or expenditures, there's no accounting data to allow the council to make an informed decision.
Well, when you send your stuff to, the IRS, make them a copy. Simple.
Right now, anything you need to know, Donna Tipton at the credit union has all the paperwork. She has the books, the checkbook, and everything that anyone wants to see.
Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion. I thought this would have been easy.
I think it's not easy because we know their idea is wonderful. It's a great thing, and I've been to a couple of these concerts, and they're really good. My only concern is, who makes the money off of all the beer that's sold?
The band.
The band and the person that's selling the beer. Maybe if part of that money from the beer or whatever could come back to the city or pay at least part of this, maybe I wouldn't feel so bad about it.
Well,
I see people drinking an awful lot of beer when I go to those.
$100 is 20% of the normal Greenwater's Park fee. I mean, like I said, that's 50 cents a head at admission. That's a pretty cheap concert.
Well, I don't mind the fact that they're free. I see a lot of people and stuff when I go to those. They take their own chairs and they sit out there and they listen to the music and they're having a great time. I think that's a great thing.
Trying to charge admission to a place that's spread out all over 5 acres, you're gonna run them down one at a time.
Yeah.
Well, and as you recall, the council rule is if an admission is charged, then they gotta rent a whole bar.
Yeah,
And
that's
admission is charged. And
Then
so
they-
now we've
Compounded the
yeah,
problem.
we've compounded the bar, we've made it worse.
Well,
and
You know,
when you-
excuse me, you need to look at what the bands charge. They don't come cheap.
That's right.
And that's where the biggest bulk of the money goes, to pay the bands.
Well, and when you talk about free, okay, free is to the participant, or the people that go to these concerts. It is, at this point, it's an expense to the city when you've got 6 weekends during the peak tourist season and generating nothing off a major city asset. So it's free to the people that go to the concert, the bands are getting paid, and it's a loss to the city.
The point of the concerts is to bring tourists into Oakridge. And it goes for the benefit of our community.
That's right. Okay, we gotta move on, unless you folks wanna stay here until midnight.
I have some shows to watch, Your Honor.
I'm kidding. We either wanna act on it or we don't wanna act on it. What do you wanna do?
I'll make a motion.
Counselor Dusty.
I move that we approve the fee waiver for the park, the concerts in the park, and that the agreement outlining expectations be completed with the financials being brought.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kodowski, seconded by Counselor Callahan. Is there discussion?
And we will get more, we'll get a new one of these permits for each concert.
Yeah, for when they
Because
request
this has
it.
nothing about noise or
Yes.
alcohol.
Yeah, that
or
is,
anything.
that is strictly for the facility, and they have addressed the issue that they will come in front of council 45 days prior to request
That's all I
any
wanted to know.
beer permits. Yes, that
The
is
beer
the cover.
permit, we don't always do that at every concert. We've only had 3 for the year. And that's just on occasion.
All right,
And then when she does that, she can bring financials.
any further discussion?
Well, now, in regards to asking for financials, is that something that
Well, even
council?
if she brought something like from last year, when you did your taxes last
Well,
year.
my-
You can use that.
Donna Tipton has all that paperwork.
That's fine and good, but can she?
Somebody
She
needs to
can
get that to us.
Someone needs
Yes,
to get it
I can
to
get it to
me
you.
so
That's
that
all
I
we
can
want.
get it to them.
Yeah,
Well,
good.
I got a dumb question. I mean, if you're gonna ask for financials after you approve the waiver, what's the purpose of it?
Well,
Huh?
See if we're gonna approve the next waiver.
Oh, let's see whether we approve it next year after this.
well, my issue would be
Because we haven't had it in
this.
the past.
My issue, exactly. Is this going to be a condition or rule of the council for anyone requesting waivers? And I would say probably not.
No, but for this amount, I mean, it's a large amount.
So then it's something that council may have to discuss in regards to making it an adjustment on their facilities permits then.
What I would recommend is we act on the permits tonight, and since the council doesn't have a very good system in their own policy, the
Right.
council decide what they want to do sometime in the future, and maybe at a work session or something like that, because it does affect a lot of different things. All right, we ready to vote? Good, let's vote then.
Councilor Barkley?
Nay.
Councilor Fortune? Councilor Clark?
Aye.
Mayor Shorey?
Aye.
Councilor Baszler?
45 days.
Councilor Cordez?
Aye.
Councilor Callahan?
Aye.
Passes.